Embarking on a journey through the cosmos. Galaxies shine with every step we take. Voyagers of time and space, we wander. Uncharted paths, our destinies will make. Drifting through timelines. Drifting through timelines. Stars unfold their stories in the twilight. Travelers intertwine in cosmic streams. With every pulse, new horizons waiting. Futures born from yesterday's lost dreams. Drifting through timelines.
Hello everybody, welcome to my weekend live stream. I'm the Sci-Fi Historian, and this is going to be my 4th episode of my live stream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as we discuss movies and pop culture discussions and all that. Now, on to our first topic that I would like to discuss. I may be a little late to this party in news, but I want to discuss the future of Star Trek after Starfleet Academy was canceled after only 2 seasons, and the 2nd season of Starfleet Academy is not even aired yet. Now, the future of Star Trek is pretty bleak to a certain extent, and I would agree that the majority of the fan base, but I may be speaking out of my ass here though, but Star Trek, the franchise, needs to be put on ice for a few years, or at least a decade, for the bad press and the rot to actually be rooted out and disappear before Star Trek can be brought back again. As well as Star Trek to not be too politicized in its showings. Because disclaimer to everyone, I haven't seen Starfleet Academy. I have seen clips of it from other viewers that actually watch the show, actually are Star Trek fans and all that, and they agree the show is, well, to put it nicely, a disappointment. To put it very rudely, hot garbage that you can take a turd on. Alright. Well, yeah, and from the clips I seen, oh boy, they go hard right into soap opera territory and all about feelings and all that, and no sense of justice at all, if any at all. what a joyous occasion how far Star Trek has fallen. Now the question is, how long should Star Trek be on ice for? All the way? Like, just put the whole franchise to rest and then start over from scratch with a new sci-fi show or franchise under a new name? I mean, I do see sci-fi fans saying, yes, some franchises have gone past their expiration date. It should be put out of the misery or should be retired. Some say Star Trek is that since 2005. Others say that Star Wars, after the prequels were finished up. And I would agree to a certain extent, but then a franchise is durable if you keep producing good stuff for new fans and old fans alike to actually enjoy the stuff you produce to keep the IP alive and well. For example, you could go 50 years into the future from now, and there still is Star Trek on TV and all that. Just they're able to find new ways to keep the show alive and relevant. Yes, and I would just say that, well, I'm going to get a little political here, but Hollywood has gone so far off the deep end when it comes to its politics that Hollywood needs to do a full-on cleaning house of their political beliefs to a certain extent. I mean, they say that Hollywood and the area in general was far more liberal than the rest of the country. Well, liberals being generous, so it's more left-wing than the whole country. I would say that they need to clean house and get out all the far left crazies and full-on left-wingers, and they need to bring in the more so-called moderate liberals, or liberals in general, to write new Star Trek stories or new adventures for us. And I do have a few members of the sci-fi community that's saying we should have had Starfleet or Star Trek Legacy, but from what they say, it's totally dead in the water, not going to happen at all. To which, all right, which the owners of the IP totally missed the opportunity to try to create something good for the audience. But then some would say, oh, what do you mean Starfleet, Star Trek Picard Season 3 was good? Well, look, compared to the first garbage 2 seasons of Picard, when you're fed trash so damn much, and then the third season comes along and it's not too damn bad, of course it's going to be better than the previous Star Trek. As well as STD. I'm not going to call it Star Trek Disco. It's STD. I haven't seen any of the new show, but if it's anything that what fans say and what critics say, especially ones that are Star Trek fans, I'm not going to dive into it or go into it. Because I did tell my sci-fi community that I mainly am a Star Wars fan first, Star Trek Trek fan second. So Star Trek is not my first passion. Star Wars is. So I would say probably Star Trek needs to be on ice for at least a decade for it to rest. Then hopefully this over politicization of Hollywood dies down to a point where they are actually able to write good stories again and to actually be so-called progressive still actually is sewn into the fabric of Starfleet and not forced in like the current era of Star Trek is. Alrighty. And now the question, should it be taken in the far future, or should it be somewhere in the past, or somewhere as a prequel midquel, as what people say? Well, I can just hear the Star Trek Discovery fans or RSTD fans saying, Star Trek Discovery started out as a prequel, then towards the end of season 2 or 3, Star Trek Discovery jumped into the far future, then became an unofficial sequel to the whole new franchise. I would say decanonize all the new Star Trek, make it as a wet dream or a nightmare for a new crew and ship captain. And then it should be a time skip of question: how far into the Star Trek universe future should they go? The early 25th century, like Star Trek Online does, or should they be doing the mid 20th century, somewhere in the 2450s or 2460s, like Next Generation did? I would say do it a generation after DS9, which, correct me if I'm wrong, the timeline from DS9 is roughly 2372-ish to 2379, which means towards the end of the Dominion War, which was 2376, I'm gonna say, probably, to 2378 to maybe 79, when the last shots were fired and the entire Alpha and Beta quadrants united to defeat the Dominion War effort, and the Dominion was pushed back to the Gamma quadrant. So, if you want to go by that timeline, 2379, then do a generation after that, which a generation usually is roughly about 20 years. Yeah. So, the math is about towards the end of the 24th century, towards the beginning of the 25th century. I would say, why not make it even 2401? A new century, new crew, and a new ship. Yes. And then, from the state of what DS9 and those shows show, Starfleet and the Alpha Quadrant has become very militarized to a point because they just won a war. So the question is, will that militant mentality still be around about a generation from the so-called fan fiction timeline I'm making here? I would say yes, because Starfleet and the Federation has learned a very hard lesson that if you become complacent in your own abilities and of the current power structure, you will nearly lose everything. That's what the Dominion War proved. So I would say Starfleet would be... If I want to be a pragmatist, they will be somewhat still militarized as a military first, science second. But then you will have the Picard type like captains again returning, saying, why do we need all this militarization? Starfleet is not a military, it's an exploration. It's like bullshit. If you have a navy and talks, quacks like a navy, it's a navy and a military. So don't give me that crap, the Picard type defenders, please. All right, and with that, I'm going to switch topics to now my third favorite sci-fi franchise I like to discuss, Stargate franchise universe. And I do have an article that I want to pull up for us to check out. Let's see here if I'm able to get this up correctly. So please stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. This article is Stargate, the best viewing order for the movies and the shows. Oh boy. Alright. First up in order is the Stargate movie. To which, what some fans say, and I would agree to this, the shows, they diverge from the movie to a point where you can not watch the movie, but to a point, but then you do need it somewhat for more context. But then again, I did watch SG-1 Season 1. They did a soft reboot of the movie in the first two episodes. All right, and then up next, let's see here. We have the first two episodes of Stargate SG-1, where they introduced the main cast, which is Jack O'Neill, Daniel Jackson, Samantha Carter, and Teal'c. And then that one major character that only lasted for 2 episodes. Well, that was in charge of SG-2. All right, then up next, let's see here. We have Stargate SG-1 seasons 1 through 7. Yes, this is the main Grow Old arc, I think it is, where the Gold System Lords were the main foes of SG-1 in the show. And it aired from 1997 to 2004, this arc from 1 through 7, and was included in season 8, I think it was. All right, then let's see here. Up next, let's see here. We have Stargate SG-1 Season 8 and Stargate Atlantis Season 1. This is debatable, actually, because there wasn't exactly a soft pilot episode in SG-1 about going to Atlantis. So I was saying that Stargate Atlantis is an offshoot of SG-1, which it is, but they could have done a more connective tissue to it, though. But they usually didn't. It was its own separate franchise for the first few seasons of Atlantis until they were reconnected to Earth in the Milky Way galaxy by seasons 2 and 3 of Atlantis. Then up next, let's see here. We have Stargate SG-1 Season 9, and SG in Stargate Atlantis Season 2. They are in the same take place in the same timeline, but they're different events across 2 different galaxies. So it's like a multi-pronged event storyline right here, taking place roughly at the same time. The beginning of the Ori story arc and the war against the Wraith continues. Yes, and I may be in the minority, but I love the Ori as villains. Maybe it's because I come from a religious background and have a beef with that type of religious fervor against people. But yeah, I love the Ori as villains. And up next, let's see here. Stargate SG-1 Season 10 and Stargate Atlantis Season 3. This is a crossover episode arc. And then the question is, well, it was not included in the Stargate Atlantis so-called series. It was mainly a crossover with SG-1. So I would call this an SG-1 crossover, mainly not a Stargate Atlantis crossover. And the subtitle for this is that the Ori arc continues, and the Michael arc in the Azurans timeline begins. Yes, Stargate Atlantis Season 3 is when things start to kick into high gear in the Atlantis galaxy, in the Pegasus galaxy where Atlantis is stationed. Then up next, let's see here. Stargate, the Arc of Truth, the conclusion of the Ori arc. To which, for what I hear, it was a rushed arc because they knew that Stargate SG was being canceled after its 10-plus year run. I mean, they could have done a story arc and introduced a few more Earthships, like the... See, I'm going to guess here. The Apollo and the Sun Tzu in the Ori story arc, in the Arc of Truth movie, possibly. Unless the Apollo was already introduced. Yeah, I think it was. They could have done the Sun Tzu in season 10, a new ship, then possibly even another ship given to probably another coalition gate member, maybe a European one, probably a German one or a French one. I don't know. It's whatever the so-called European coalition on Earth is able to band together to see which um, European nation can have a Earth ship of their own to travel across the universe or galaxies. Alrighty, then up next, let's see here. We have Stargate Atlantis Season 4. The replicator threat continues and Michael returns. Yes. The replicators are already only there for half of the season, then they're eliminated. After that, it's the Michael story arc. Yeah, the creator of this list does get it right. Then up next, let's see here. We have Stargate Continuum, a fine movie that takes place after search and rescue. Yeah, this could take same universe, but a different event in a different galaxy, though. So this is like the conclusion of SG1. And it's a time travel movie, too. And there's the ever so sexy Claudia Black right there. And then everyone's favorite love to hate Gold Ball or Lovable Gold Ball. Then up next, let's see here. We have Stargate Atlantis Season 5. I would say this Stargate Atlantis Season 5, this is where things start to settle down, and they enter a meandering period of Stargate Atlantis Season 5 a little bit. They do, since all the major threats are gone in the Pegasus Galaxy and Milky Way galaxies. They were hints of having a rogue Asgard faction in the Pegasus Galaxy, and they did do the Super Hive story arc for 2 or 3 episodes, and they could have done a Stargate Atlantis movie, yes, or maybe season 6. But then, what can you do with I mean, you could do more Wraith storylines, but then the Wraith aren't getting their asses kicked pretty damn well by Stargate Command and the Tauri and the Atlantis expedition. So how do you still make them a credible threat? I would say the Wraith are a background threat, not a full-on threat to the Tauri. You could try bringing the Janai again as a threat, because the Janai and the Tauri have how should I put this? A lukewarm relationship with each other. Relationships between the Tauri and the Janai, to put it at best, lukewarm. At worst, they're tense. It's a standoffish relationship. Because the Janai are a regional power in the Stargate Pegasus Galaxy. Then up next, let's see here. Oh, some would say the least favorite Stargate TV show, to which I would somewhat agree to a point, but then Stargate Universe did grow on me after its very slow 3-parter intro. Actually, season 1 was kind of slowish and kind of boring. Season 2 is when things started to pick up for Stargate Universe. Yeah. I can understand why people call it the black sheep of the Stargate franchise. All right, then up next, let's see here. Oh, the prequel Stargate Origins. They were testing that out the water to see if Stargate is still relevant and still has fans in the Stargate community. And hello, Jerm. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully, you enjoy the show, and I don't meander too much to what you turn off the channel. All right, then up next, let's see here. Actually, I haven't seen Stargate Origins. For anyone that's seen Stargate Origins, was it okay? Was it bad? Or was it somewhat good to a point? Because it came out in 2018. All right. I don't know much information on it, so I'm going to go on to the next topic here. Number one is Stargate Infinity, the non-canon animated show. To which here, yeah, non-canon, but then, well, you could try putting it in canon, but then it's going to be a flash-forward series, probably. It aired from 2002 to 2003. I have seen it. It's a okay-ish show. It does have its down points, but it is an okay show. All right, then I may pull up another article for us to discuss if I'm able to find one. So please stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I could share this with us to enjoy. So let's see here. All right, this article has Stargate. What are the 5 races? And basically the galactic players in the Stargate universe. Alrighty, let's go through this list. In first place on this list, we have the Ancients. And they do earn the name because they aren't ancient by the other races' standards. They are, well, I'm going to say probably here, if you want to be very conservative in their age estimate as a species, the first evolution of humans, they are at least, I'm going to say probably 7 million years old for a race. But there are some sources that say that, especially with the siege ship, that they could be as old as 40 to 50 million years old. Heck, some would say probably right when the dinosaurs were roaming the planet and they caused the extinction of the dinosaurs to make Terra their new home world. That made me speculating on, if you will, the very, very optimistic year range for how old they are, roughly. Let's see what this article has to say about the Ancients. The first members of the Alliance are the Ancients. Once known as the Alterans, they lived as a developed civilization millions of years ago in the Alteran home galaxy in the form of humanoids, both in appearance and autonomy. At one point, their people split between 2 factions, the Alterans and the Ori, who differed in their beliefs and practices. The Alterans believed in science based and morality, and the Ori adopted a more religious, further lifestyle. This caused a civil war forcing the Alterans to flee the galaxy to keep their people from being wiped out. Then, thousands of years later, the Alterans found themselves in the Milky Way galaxy, and they settled on the planet Takara and Terra, one of the first colonies in the Milky Way galaxy, the latter of which eventually became known as Earth. As they began colonizing planets in the Milky Way, their most prominent presence was on Earth, and they left behind their knowledge and architecture. Eventually, they suffered a widespread plague which wiped out most of their species, and they departed from the Milky Way galaxy, direction towards the Pegasus galaxy. Thousands of years later, they returned to Earth to find the humans more evolved, and they decided to breed with Earthlings to keep their bloodlines alive. The ancients were also the constructors of the stargates that were placed around both the Milky Way and Pegasus galaxies, as well as many others, if you will go off the universe's timeline, where they sent gate ships to multiple galaxies ahead of the Destiny ship. Alrighty, then up next, let's see here, we have the Furlings, which is the least known of the four great races. Alrighty. So, what information the author was able to gather here? The Furlings were also part of the four great races, though they were the least documented throughout the Stargate saga. Their people resemble the Earth species, the koalas, and are often compared to the Ewoks from Star Wars. A peaceful people, the Furlings joined the alliance to both gain protection against other conquering enemies and to provide their own pacifist solutions to political and warlike species efforts. The Furlings once resided in the Milky Way galaxy before being killed by the Goa'uld. Though it's unclear what planet they were from, evidence of their existence was found on P5X77 in Season 6, Episode 15, titled Paradise Lost. Yeah, and the Furlings... well, the authors basing this off of the Stargate episode Wormhole Extreme, where they did the Furlings episode. Furlings could be the size of Ewoks, or like that, or Furlings maybe consider they have more hair on them than the average humanoid, like the Asgard or the Ancients, to which they could be cat people, or another animal-like species that's humanoid similar to the Ancients or the Asgard, but only has more hair on them, like fur, hence the title Furlings. And I just hear Germ saying, you know, you have a weird fetish. Why? Alright, then up next we have the Nox. Then a humanoid species, the Nox reside on the planet Gaia and share a similar passive beliefs to the Furlings. Part of their lifestyle is represented through their deep atomical connection with the nature in their native planet. Unlike their allies, they do not provide particularly advanced technology, as they believe it would taint their perfect relationship with nature. Instead, they gain special abilities thanks to their eco-relationship. This includes a spectacular memory and comprehension, and heightened sensational skills, and even the ability to heal living creatures through the ritual of life. Their usefulness to the Alliance was in their pacifism and their stealth, and they were able to help refugees escape from the devastation of the Goa'uld. Yeah, I don't care for pacifists too much. Because pacifists let too much evil in the world do more harm than good. Then up next we have everyone's favorite four great races, and one that we have the most knowledge on, because they were around the longest, is including up to the present day Stargate universe lore. The Asgard. And they look like the gray aliens that were seen in Area 51. And then lastly, the Asgard are the humanoid species that originally from the home planet Helia in the Ophala galaxy. Though they were once humanoid, by the time the members of SG-1 first encountered them, their appearance was extremely altered due to the many years of cloning themselves with the ultimate goal of achieving immortality. It backfired, causing sterilization and unnatural changes in their evolution. This resulted in them appearing as the classic Greys aliens, which large brain cases and bulging black eyes. Alright, then the Asgard were once served as one of the sole protectors of the Milky Way galaxy after freeing the many captive humans of the galaxy from the Goa'uld rule. Once liberated, they stood even as a bigger threat to the conquerors and came in terms with a peace treaty known as the Protected Planets Treaty. For a while, their treaty proved effective until the replicators invaded the Asgard's home galaxy. This forced them to leave the Milky Way galaxy vulnerable as they attempted to fight off the replicators. Eventually, the Asgard became extinct, but not before learning the knowledge of the ancients and helping relay resources to the SG-1, the people of Earth. They also are responsible for introducing the fifth race to the alliance of the four great races, informing them that they are in fact on their way to become the fifth race. Then we have the newest addition to the four great races. Some would say, or the fans will say, the successors to the ancients, aka ancient humans, the Tauri, humans of Earth, present day. And then the fifth race were first introduced in the SG-1 Season 2, Episode 15, entitled The Fifth Race. While Colonel Jack O'Neill and the company were exploring the planet of P3R272, they stumbled upon a device. Jack approaches it, and it quite literally trapped and grasped his head and downloaded contents of the ancients into his brain. He then starts to retain Alteran knowledge, and eventually can only speak their native language. Alrighty, let's see here. Eventually, after deciphering certain mysteries of the Stargate and opening Stargates across the galaxy they had yet to explore, he enters the portal and greeted by the Asgard. Once there, they turn him back to normal and inform him that his species, the humans of Earth, also known to the Asgard and the rest of the Alliance as the Tauri, had taken the first steps to becoming the fifth race of the Alliance. He also revealed the device that implanted the ancients' knowledge, and it was a storage device of knowledge, a device placed across galaxies by the ancients to hold everything they knew. O'Neill returns to Earth but retains no knowledge of the ancients. However, he does return with the comfort that his native species will be okay, as the Asgard have informed him, and that the hope of the Tauri will one day serve as the great protectors of the galaxy, as the four Grand Alliances once did, and power is thus explored throughout the remainder of the SG-1 series. Alrighty, that concludes this article. Now, I do have a question for you Stargate fans out there. If Stargate SG-1 is the fifth race, if you want to do a new four great races, making the great races to a total of 8, what would be the next generation of the great races? Would it be the Tauri, then the I would say that Jafar could be a great race since they are part of the Milky Way galaxy. Now the question is, yeah, the Tari and the Jafar Nation are the top contenders to be an alliance of a new four races. Then what are the other two? I can't be the Lucian Alliance because there's by the time Stargate SG-1 is concluded, they're still at war with them. Then there's the Wraith. Oh boy. Currently enemies. If you read the fanfiction books or books that are concerned non-canon, the Tari do eventually make peace with them, and the Wraith do eventually give the Tari half of the Pegasus Galaxy, and they take the other half. So if you won't go by that logic, then the Wraith could be another great race, but that is very questionable because the Wraith do have their own issues. But give them, and from what I read on the wiki page on the Wraith, Dr. McKay or let's see here, Carson Beckett and the other doctors of the Tari, they're able to give the Wraith a retrovirus that's able to have the Wraith feed on humans without killing them, in other words. And that was able to make the Wraith less terrifying compared to the native humans of the universe. So yeah, you could make the Wraith a third race, but that's a very distant third position. Then there's the Tok'ra, but they're a very small population though. So if you all be symbolic, you can make the Tok'ra a great race, but no, too few in number. Their influence is felt throughout the Milky Way galaxy, but they're not exactly have enough influence to be considered a great race. Then there's the Ori that were defeated in Stargate SG-1 in season 10 of the Arc of Truth arc. No, that's not possible. So I would say there could be only two great races officially if you want to start the alliance over again. The Tari and the Jafar Nation, a somewhat distant second. Then there's, if you really want to push the luck, you can do the Wraith, very distant third, and then very distant fourth place. Well, fourth place is tied. You can do the Tok'ra or the Ori if they're able to get their shit together and become more moderate in their beliefs and not too damn extreme. So the Ori could join the great races, but I highly doubt it though. Alright. Yeah, and I do have a few bullet points here to discuss about the speculation. What is the state of the Stargate universe in 2027 where the new Stargate TV shows can take place? Now, the first bullet point I have here, what would the state of the Tari be, humans of Earth be? Now, we know by the end of Atlantis, SG-1, and Universe, they are pretty much the dominant power in the Milky Way galaxy and a regional power in the Pegasus galaxy if you want to be somewhat limited in their reach, because their main base of operations is their home galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. The Pegasus galaxy is more like a sideshow for them, but they do fight the Wraith in that galaxy to protect the human populations of that. Now the question is, how much more influence or how much bigger would their assets be after, I'm going to say, 19 to 20 years of hiatus? I would say that their military assets and their bases could match. Let's see here if I'm able to do this correctly. Please stand by, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to show you something. Hopefully, I don't mess it up for us. Let's see here. Something like maybe that right there, if you're able to see it. Let's see here. Come on, my camera. Come on. Come on. Like, oops. Where are you? There we are. Oh, if you're able to see that right there, but I doubt it. Anyway, that up there is a galactic map of where the powers are roughly in the Milky Way galaxy. But according to my own little fan fiction of the Stargate universe in mine, I would say that the Tari do have at least a quarter of the Milky Way galaxy under their control, which is roughly about 24,000 light years. They probably have roughly about probably about 50 outposts and military bases stretched out along that territory. Then at least a few civilian colonies to maintain their infrastructure in that part of their galaxy, with mining colonies and all that, and research outposts. And now the question is, will the Stargate program be finally revealed to the populace? I would say if the majority of the major threats in the Stargate universe are dealt with already, I would say yes, you could reveal the Stargate universe, Stargate. And then you could semi-unite the world into some type of confederation. And then you could start exporting Tari colonists to other planets in the Milky Way galaxy that are uninhabitable, are not occupied. So they would be a great power in the Milky Way galaxy. Now on to my next bullet point here. The state of the Lucian Alliance. They were the main rivals of the Tari in their home galaxy. What would their state be after 20 or so years of time skip there? Would they still be at war with the Tari, or would they be defeated and then a semi-regional power that is still around but is not a criminal organization with them? Some type of like a very loose alliance or a confederation of some sort. I would say the Lucian Alliance, if they're still around in the Stargate universe, they could be a very loose like they are originally criminals, warlords, and racketeers and bounty hunters. So if you want to try and look at what's the positive job classifications there, like if you were to twist that into a good version of that, you could do businessmen, and local politicians, or regional leaders. Then bounty hunters could still be bounty hunters, and along with a few others. Yes. Now the question is, are the Lucian Alliance and the Tari on bad terms or on relatively good terms in the Milky Way galaxy? I would say they're somewhere, at best, they're probably lukewarm, and at worst, there's tension between those two powers. I would say at best they only talk in trading deals to trade goods and all that. I would say there's tension between the Lucian Alliance and the Tari still, and in the 20 or so year gap in the Stargate universe. Now, as to another bullet point with another power in the Milky Way galaxy, that would be the Free Jafar Nation. Well, this is pure speculation. I mean, everything is speculation on my part here, though. I would say the Free Jafar Nation, they're too fractured and decentralized in their power bases to form a real solid nation. So, plus there are warlords, because the Goa'uld did not actually give them very much to work with. I mean, they the Jafar inherited their power structure and their forces, but then they don't know how to rule or govern the right way. So there are two options I can see here. The Free Jafar Nation reconstitutes itself and reunites itself in their part of the galaxy, which is about roughly half the galaxy. They try to do that, then they try to form a semi-functional galactic government that's not as extreme as the old one. Still can be authoritarian to a point, but then they do need some amount of freedom and to be somewhat more tolerant, because you don't want to show a bad rep to your unofficial ally, the Tari, since they helped form your nation and your movement since the beginning of the 20th century. So I would say it could be a soft authoritarian council state with basically just regional leaders in different parts of their nation with some amounts of influence and fleets under their control, kind of like military governors. And then they answer to a military council or a general, high general in other words. Or there could be a civil war between within the Jafar nation, judging on how divided they are. And the civil war could last, I can say probably about up to 15 to 20 years, because the war will be mainly between what Jafar nation do you want after the Goa'uld have died or disappeared or lost most of their influence. How do you want to rule a galaxy and the planets you have under your control? Some would want, due to their influence by the Tari, they would want somewhat of a semi-constitutional form of government or a constitutional republic type of government. Others would want a full-on totalitarian dictatorship. Others would want a full-on citizenship state with in theory, no centralized government or no borders. In other words, like full-on communist. Or there is a third option. They could ask the Tari for help, and the Tari, if they have the resources, actually help them build up government institutions with some ideas and some books that they can give the the Free Jafar, like on political thought and political science, government structures, and all that to help build up their galactic nation better. But that would take years of work and a lot of willingness from the Jafar nation people, because in essence, you are having the Tari, humans of Earth. Basically, you are becoming a puppet of the Tari for a decade or so, while the Tari help you build up institutions to build up your legitimacy in that galaxy. So I would say that by the late 2020s, the Free Jafar Nation could be just a reformed, then an independent, maybe for me, an optimist, a semi-constitutional republic that, or somewhat of a constitutional confederation across their part of space and that part of the galaxy. So, yeah, I think that's the best option that the Jafar can ask for. Then up next on this list we have, well, what would the state of the Wraith and the Pegasus galaxy be after 20 plus years of this time skip? Well, there are speculations. The Tari would continue probably to do a campaign of war against the Wraith for a few more years, and then if you will go off the books in the fandom, the Wraith could come to the negotiation table to try to form some type of armistice, to say the least, or a full-on peace treaty. Peace treaty, I would say, is not really in the cards, probably. Well, full-on armistice probably is the best case scenario for the Pegasus Galaxy and the Wraith in that galaxy. The question is, will they do something similar with what they did in the fandom books, like give the Tari half the galaxy, then they take the other half? But then you also have to see here that the Wraith are in their own internal civil war, because the humans that they farm for food, to lack of a better term, there's too few humans to feed the Wraith. So the Wraith are constantly in a state of civil war until, I would say, the Wraith population, judged by the number of humans, the Wraith population would have to at least be halved to sustain their population. Right now, the state of their empire, probably by the end of the Stargate run of its show, the Wraith probably have 3/4 of their strength by the end of the show. Then, after a few more years of fighting between the Tari and the Wraith would be reduced to about half their strength, to say the least, and that would form an armistice between the Tari and the Wraith of that galaxy, and the Wraith could possibly give half the galaxy to the Tari. Then up next on this list, and this is another Pegasus power player, the Janai. Now, what would the state of the Janai be after 20 plus years of hiatus of that show? Well, the Janai, they could take advantage of the Wraith's weakened state, expand their influence, but then they have to be careful because they are still a relatively weak power compared to the Wraith in the Pegasus Galaxy. So I could see them reform their Confederation of Planets in the Pegasus Galaxy, but they have to expand their influence very carefully to avoid the Wraith, to not cause them to be wiped out again by the Wraith. And the question is, will they ask the Tari for help to develop their society technology better and all that, to further explain it, or will the Tari and the Janai not really beyond just trading relations, and I'm going to say at best lukewarm contact? Would they get along, or would they just leave each other alone in that galaxy? I would say that the Janai would and the Tari would leave each other alone in that galaxy, and then beyond that, we have to move to the Ori galaxy. And for lack of the better term, we don't know the name of their galaxy. I'm going to call it the Ori galaxy. The state of the Ori towards the end of the show. The Ori are basically defeated. And when I talk about Ori in general, I'm talking about like their populations of worshippers and all that, and their advanced yet primitive societies that create advanced ships, but yet are primitive by comparison. So how would they be after 20 plus years of isolation and time skip like that? Well, probably the majority of the Ori galaxy's population would still be relatively primitive in their tech level or all that, but they probably would still keep their advanced fleet of starships to try travel across the galaxy, and there would be a new power structure in the Ori galaxy. There would be the troops and generals under the original Ori priors, and then from what the SG-1 show is able to show, the Book of Origin, it is a good book in theory. It does have some good lessons, but it's the Ori themselves that twisted that beliefs into a power-hungry version of that. So then the question is, would the Ori populace be able to get rid of the dogmatic beliefs of the Ori that they have instilled for them for thousands of years? Or will they still maintain them to a point to be that extreme still? I would say they would be more moderate in their beliefs, not full on dogmatic or genocidal like the Ori are. They would still be religious, but not to the extreme end of extremist religion to the point of religious terrorism and violence. So the Ori populous and galaxy would still be relatively the same, but a new power structure would evolve in that galaxy. There would be question: will it be a military type of galactic government, or will it be a religious type of government, or will it be somewhere of a civilian, religious, and military type of government? That is very much debatable, and honestly, I don't know. I could see it becoming a semi-military, religious type of government, a rigid power structure that's based on the military, and then new religious advisors or priests to interpret the Book of Origin it was supposed to be intended to for. But beyond that, that's how I see it. All right, and with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm starting to run out of ideas, so this live stream may be a little short, but I don't really know how much to talk about unless you want to hear me ramble on, which I know a few of my community members do not want me to ramble on. So I will wrap it up shortly. So I am the Sci-Fi Historian. On this channel, I cover different sci-fi TV shows or movies. I do my sci-fi live streams usually on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific time with my co-host if he's up for it. And those are my sci-fi watch parties. And I try to upload a new video on this channel towards the end and the beginning of the previous week or the beginning of next week. And I do my live streams here usually on Saturdays between 2 and 4 p.m. Pacific time. And I do have another channel called Old Whistle Sardan. That one I cover Japanese anime and cartoons in general. And right now we're about ready to wrap up season 2 of Shield Hero, move on to season 3. And I do the watch parties there usually on Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific time, usually after Gorilla's Walton streams. And beyond that, every watch hour and watch me Christmas to make more content for you guys. So hopefully make a few dollars off YouTube. Until next time, everyone, live long and prosper, and may the force be with you. And have a good day, night, where you are, and have a good afternoon.